Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from Vienna. Welcome to today's webinar, Scaling Ceramic 3D Printed Multi-Feature Parts for the MedTech Industry. This webinar is organized by Lithos in cooperation with Bosch Advanced Ceramics in Germany. And before I get into more details about the speakers, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Norbert Gall. I'm head of marketing and press at Lithos in Vienna. I wanted to point out concerning this webinar that it will be recorded. So there will be a link available at the end of this webinar, and we will try our best to send it at the end of the week so you can watch everything again. In case that in the question and answer part, some questions will not be answered, don't panic. They will all be responded by our experts here in time, so you will get answered all your questions. So now let's go to our speakers. First of all, Dr. Malte Hartmann. His role at Bosch Advanced Ceramics is an engineer in the Bosch Advanced Ceramics development team. Malte has been operating in the field of ceramic 3D printing for about 10 years now. With his academic background in chemistry and materials technology, Malte has been consistently pursuing his goal of bringing ceramic AM to large-scale industrial production. From the Lithos side, we say hello to Sebastian Lanner. Sebastian's role at Lithos is a business development member in the medical solutions team. Sebastian has been operating in the field of 3D printing for about 6 years now, but before his engagement at Lithos, he had built his thorough MedTech background by spending almost a decade with the CNC machining of medical parts. He is also operating our presentation. So first of all, as a teaser, I wanted to highlight again, why should you stay tuned during the next 60 minutes? It's exactly because of parts like the one you see here on the right-hand side. This one is an arthroscopic knee shaver. You maybe perfectly recognize it, but this knee shaver has been printed in one single production step. And still, it has, of course, multiple features, as you can see here. First of all, we can find 2 channels for rinsing in this part, another bigger channel for putting a light source through, and a channel for the drainage. And above all, of course, it's a knee shaver, so it also features rotating cutting blades, as you can see in the middle part. And I wanted to mention that again. Why is that so important? And why is this so innovative, what we are discussing here today? Because it's about ceramics, and ceramics are the world's toughest materials in existence. Ceramics, as you might know, are PFAS-free, and they are perfectly biocompatible. We can print these kind of technical ceramics for the medical industry in ultra-precise geometries, and as you will see later on, Bosch Advanced Ceramics is doing so in serial production of bigger or smaller lots. So this is really something that is and will be highly relevant for the entire MedTech industry. Before we go into detail with our experts, I just wanted to guide you through shortly about through this webinar's roadmap. So in the first part, Sebastian will take over. Lithos will then explain you the challenges of the MedTech industry as they are today. You're perfectly probably aware of those challenges, but we will also point out where we see the potential to innovate. We will get a quick introduction into LCM ceramic 3D printing by Lithos. After that, Sebastian will go into detail about which ceramic materials are actually printable with LCM technology. And he will give you a first short glance into multi-feature MedTech parts. Then he will hand over to Malte, and Bosch Advanced Ceramics will then go more into detail about why customer opt for ceramics. So they perfectly, of course, know why someone chooses ceramics over metals or polymers. And a very important part will also be their MedTech applications, which they have already been producing in serial production at Bosch Advanced Ceramics. And before I forget, of course, you might have heard there are some corporate news as well, and Malte will, of course, go also into detail here. At the end of this webinar, we will then have slightly more than 10 minutes of Q&A. But as I said, don't panic if there is a question that will not be answered live. You will, of course, get, first of all, the webinar recording, and second, our experts will then answer it in written form. So this is the part, or this is the point where I will hand over now to Sebastian. You will hear afterward. Sebastian can take over and hear you soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Norbert, for this kind introduction and the great overview. I also want to take the chance to welcome everyone to this webinar. And we directly start into with today's challenge in MedTech, or basically what we've noticed in business development through several discussions with surgeons and manufacturers. And for sure, how LITO's LCM technology opens new possibilities. So the point I want to address in the beginning is the gap between clinical needs and manufacturing realities. On the one side, we have patients and surgeons. Both pursue similar goals to make the procedure easier, safer, and less invasive. For surgeons, this means better or more specific tools that are designed precisely to the procedure or even patient-specific. For patients, this ideally means less invasive, perhaps one less incision, which results in better healing, shorter recovery times, and lower risk during and after surgery. On the other hand, we have the medical device manufacturers. They are under constant pressure to reduce costs, shorten development cycles, comply with strict requirements, and still deliver innovation. In our discussions with surgeons and manufacturers, we've noticed often a conflict. Clinical requirements push complexity, while manufacturing constraints push simplifications. So we strongly believe that these views can be reconciled with less effort than is currently required, and thus will generate a win-win-win situation for all three parties, for the patients, surgeons, and medical device manufacturers. So what gives us the motivation to believe this? So because LITOS has developed a technology that allows us to combine, on the one hand, ceramics. So we talk about high performance ceramics, and this is used in MedTech already for decades due to its outstanding properties like excellent biocompatibility, enabling long-term implementation without adverse tissue reactions, high mechanical performance with outstanding hardness and wear resistance, which is critical for load-bearing implants, for example. We have chemical and thermal resistance, allowing sterilization and stable performance in aggressive biological environments. Because ceramics are electrically insulating and RF compatible, they are ideal for implantable electronic devices, such as neurostimulation devices or hermetic housings. On the other hand, we combine these exceptional material with the most innovative manufacturing technology, 3D printing. This allows us to create new geometries. We have very fast iteration cycles because new ideas need a lot of iteration to become a product. This is very easy with 3D printing. We have the possibility to very efficient use our material, which then brings a new topic of mass customization in serious production. So why do we see an advantage here over already proven technologies? So let me put this here. So we see traditional technologies, when we create business cases together with new leads, new projects, and new parts, we see that a lot of costs goes into molds and tools for drilling and manufacturing. We have long development cycles, as it takes quite some time to iterate with these technologies. And as soon as you increase the complexity, it drives the costs immensely of the part. So on the other hand, we have ceramic 3D printing with LITO's LCM technology. This allows us to create ultra-precise multi-feature parts and gives you in the end a broad spectrum in the design. We work with toolless production, so there is no need of any tool for the manufacturing steps. So we cure our parts with light. You will get more information on that in a later slide. And for sure, here we have a faster time to market. So elevate your application from a standard metal to a multi-feature ceramic part. So now let's explore how this technology actually works. So the LCM, which you might have heard often for now, stands for lithography-based ceramic manufacturing. I want to show you a simplified process chain with a workflow to produce a ceramic medical device. So in the beginning, we start with a cut file, which we'll prepare in our own slicing software. So LITOS has its own software developer, which creates software for all the need in this workflow. And after machine quick setup, the part is ready to print. The 3D printing process is very straightforward, and our system is built to run 24/7. So after the printing process and a small cleaning step, we will go into the debinding and sintering step. So this is a very crucial step and has two steps. So we create in this debinding and sintering the outstanding final properties of the ceramic. I have in a later slide more details what is happening here to create the ceramics. And in the end, we get the final product. And for sure, this is simplified. There will be for a real product additional steps. There could be a removal of support. You definitely have a quality control. You have sterilization. You have packaging for the finalization of your part. So let's go deeper in the actual printing process and how the system is built in this animation. So I would like to start this video clip and we'll explain what you see here. So what we see here is the Cerafab S65 Medical, and we start the video and directly go into the building area. The system has a top-down approach, so the build platform faces down and you see the parts also facing down to the vat where the material is inside. We have an AI-driven dosing system that allows us to just use as much material as necessary in the print. So we have the rotation of the vat with the use of a vibroblade to create a uniform thin layer of slurry. We go through the slurry and come to the heart of the machine, the optical system. It is based on a DLP, and by using blue light, which is sent through the most accurate optical system in the industry, we create the layer image, which is projected on the bottom of the vat. This cures the slurry on the projected areas and makes it solid. By repeating these steps, step by step, layer by layer, we create the actual 3D printed part. And we're here again where we started and move on to the next slide. So in this slide, I want to give you a short introduction to the printing material, because the material we print with and the material of the final part is quite different. So our printing material is a mixture of ceramic powder in a nanoscale and a photocurable binder. You can compare it very similar to a resin, from various SLA printing technologies. This combined creates a highly viscous slurry. This viscosity you can compare with honey or a Greek yogurt. Our machine has several technical features to deal with this viscosity. And this is one of the reasons why we do not provide the material for non-machine customers, as the risk for failure would be significant. So this is about the slurry. So we have our 3D printed part, we have a cleaning step, and then we go to the important step of the thermal post-processing, debinding and sintering. So you see here 3 figures of our CEO, Dr. Johannes Hummer. Some of you maybe know him already. And in this first figure on the left side shows him basically directly after the printing and cleaning. Here we see also in the small round image, the gray polymer structure holding the yellow ceramic particles in place. And from here, the thermal post-processing journey begins. In the beginning, we start with a step called debinding. With up to 450 centigrades in this step, the polymer is burned out and the temperature burns out all the residual carbon in the part. The part after this stage is very porous and therefore very fragile. Here we need a sintering step. This is the second step. So in this step, we go up to, depending on the material for sure, up to 1700 centigrades and densify the ceramics and create the outstanding properties you might already know from ceramics. You also see on the right-hand side how such a sintering furnace could look like. And this was about the manufacturing process. So in the next two slides, I want to show you two features of our technology. And first, answer the question, why is LCM ideal for medical device manufacturing? And for this question, I want to compare two different printing principles on the market. So we have on the left-hand side, the top-down printing principle, on the right-hand side, the bottom-up printing principle. So I will guide you through this picture. What is the main difference in here? So we have the projecting system. Very easy to see is here the top-down has the projecting system on the top, the bottom-up has the projecting system on the bottom. The next one, also very easy, the build platform. To create the part, the build platform is moving down on the top-down principle. On the right-hand side, on the bottom-up, the build platform is moving up like we do it in the LCM technology. And now I want to go to a very, very important difference in here. And this is the material consumption. As you see here, with the top-down approach, you have a very high volume of unused material, which you need to recirculate to stay economical productive. But this recirculation has some backdraws in the regulatory aspects, where you need to prove that this recirculation maintain all slurry properties. And this could be challenging. While we have in LCM just the same amount, just the necessary amount of material using into the print area, this is nothing you need to take care of. And this is, I'm telling you, because we already experienced this topic with a partner in Brazil. And here, the LCM technology was the first ceramic 3D printing technology who surpassed the Anvisa. So the Anvisa is comparable to the FDA in Brazil. And the product who was certified is comparable to a class 3 medical device. So basically the highest demands on a medical device set here. So this is more or less on the hardware side. So I also want to show you additional software feature. This is called digital surface enhancement, or short DSE. So if you already know a lot about 3D printing, you could argue that our technology, while we use a DLP system with a pixel grid, can struggle to create flat surface on rounded geometry. And as you see in the picture, this was an issue. But with this new feature, allows us to smoothen the most outer surface and basically the pixel grid on a software base, and gives us to the ability to create a perfect surface finish. And also this helps a lot to create sharper edges for cutting tools. So let's have a look at the high performance ceramics. And there is one area at LITOS I want to outline, which is for sure one of our key competence and one of the reasons why we are so successful. And it's about the material development. You see on this beautiful picture many different applications to explore. And LITOS is not only in the MedTech area, we are also in different industrial areas like semicon, aerospace, or automotive. But today, we put a spotlight on the medical materials, and I will guide you quickly through our medical grade materials. So first material I want to shortly explain is silicon nitride, which is originally from aerospace due to its thermoshock resistance, but getting more and more interesting in the medical field due to its strength and antibacterial properties on the surface, due to its surface, to the specific surface it generates after the sintering process. As well as a small input to our bone replacement material from HA, hydroxyapatite, and TCP, tricalcium phosphate, These are the best solutions for critical size bone defects or any other application where resorption is a necessary factor. The next material I want to show you shortly is a material which is very well known in the dental industry called lithium disilicate. It's well known as the most aesthetic material for dental restoration. And currently we're developing this material for 3D printing to open a new area in restorative dentistry. Another material we can print on our system is Zirconia. It's a highly durable and fracture-resistant material and perfect for applications like dental implants, where we currently see a huge shift on demand and a shift from metal to ceramics. And for the next two materials, aluminum oxide and aluminum toughened zirconia, I will have specific applications in the end of my presentation. But before, I want to show you something different, which is also a very crucial step, because having a lot of material is one thing, but another important thing for medical is ensuring quality. LITOS has set a new standard in slurry production, and since this year, we are 13485 certified. The scope here is the manufacturing of slurries for medical devices. So all of our slurry products produced in a Class 8 clean room environment. Each batch undergoes a quality control. So we have 100% quality control and is delivered with a certificate of conformity. And our quality management system allows a full traceability of each material. And this gives our customers the confidence that the material is not only high performance, but also compliant with medical quality requirements. So let's have a look at the last part of my presentation. 3 medical applications at a glance. So the first one is basically cutting tools. So as mentioned, DSE has opened new possibility with cutting edges. So we can create basically all type of existing cutting shapes and have the ability to even rethink the shape of cutting tools. So it's made from A to Z. It's alumina toughened zirconia, and it's a mixture of 20% aluminum oxide and 80% zirconia oxide, and offering the mixture of both, giving superior strength and toughness for many applications in different fields like the dentistry, CMF surgery, or orthopedics. So let's move on to the second application, which is also very interesting. So this is a project, internal project, which was founded by the European Union. So it's a pediatric blood pump from a project called OptiFlow project. And the goal was to develop a heart pump to the physiological needs of pediatric failure patients. So LITOS took a major role in this development and improved with its technology and capabilities, for example, the surface for the blood flow. So the surface in the circulated area was given a nanostructure to minimize the clot formation. So here we also created a very new way how to print this type of applications. And the last application is already, one second. So the last application is already on the market and developed by our partner Katten in Germany and the Orthoplastisches Zentrum as well. And they developed this new type of mold for hearing aids, also called orthoplastics. Normally these parts are made from polymer, but they are basically very hard to clean, and so they have a very short lifetime, and the aesthetical appearance also needed to improve as it's a very visible part. So ceramics and metals are used as alternatives, but metals had the backdrop that they distort the acoustic behavior. So in the end, ceramic was the final application. So we were able to create very smooth surface, as this can be considered as a wearable device. And yeah, so this is a very interesting application. And this was my part of the presentation, and I'll give over to Dr. Malte Hartmann. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. Also from my side, hello, and also a very warm welcome to everyone in the audience. Now I would like to share a few insights from the industrial perspective. First of all, I would like to share the agenda of this talk. As part of the introduction, I would like to talk about a new chapter which begins for us. Then I will try to outline the motivation of the medical technology industry for using ceramics and additive manufacturing. Afterwards, I will dive right into the applications listed here, those being the instrument head, a high-performance microinvasive surgical component, the gripper, a medical instrument for surgical applications, and the ceramic sleeve, which is an electrical insulator for a laparoscopic tool. At the end, I will give a conclusion with a few learnings you can hopefully take home with you, and obviously there will be time for questions. Yeah, as I mentioned, a new chapter begins, but before we look to the future, let's take a brief look back at where we come from. We were actually founded in 2016, based on an idea from 3 Bosch employees, and the name at the time was Cerix. Since 2020, sorry, we've been known as Bosch Advanced Ceramics. In 2023, the decision was made to specialize exclusively in additive manufacturing of ceramics and actually to discontinue traditional processes. This year and last year, we recorded exceptional growth rates. Compared to 2024 alone, our turnover has increased by 115%, and by that, we lay the foundation for being ready for the next phase of our growth. That is, Bosch Advanced Ceramics will transform into Sinto Advanced Ceramics. That means Advanced Ceramics joins the Sinto Kogyo Group, and the new name officially will be Sinto Advanced Ceramics Europe GmbH. So it will be the same people, same expertise, but stronger backing. And officially, that completion is scheduled for January 1st, 2026. Some of you might have seen that name together with 3D Ceram. But a little bit more about that company in the background. Sinto Kogyo is a publicly listed, globally active industrial group based in Nagoya in Japan. That company operates in various high-tech fields, including high-performance ceramics and additive manufacturing. They share our vision for expanding the possibilities of ceramic 3D printing. So by joining the Sinto Group, we gain long-term stability, international visibility, and of course, access to new resources that will strengthen our development. What does that mean actually for customers and partners? So many things stay the same, especially in daily business. You'll be keep working with the same people, processes, and the quality that you trust. Our team members will transfer to the new owner. Our technologies, materials, and quality standards obviously remain the same. And actually, we will stay at our current location until preparations for our new production facility are completed, which will then also be in the Allgäu region, which is in south of Bavaria in Germany. Until further notice, the commercial agreements will stay the same. At the same time, this step brings clear advantages: more resources, greater capacity, and the backing of a global leader. In short, we can say what you value about us stays, and you gain a stronger and more future-ready partner. So actually, this marks an exciting new chapter for all of us, and we remain fully committed to innovation, quality, and collaboration. So thank you for your continued trust and partnership, and we look forward to shaping the future together. But now let's dive a bit more into the topic why we're all here today. And let's begin with the motivation. Why does MedTech actually require ceramics? So one of the reasons for it is the PFAS dilemma. So PFAS stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And those substances are used to create, among others, polymers. And those PFAS polymers are already widely used in MedTech due to their biocompatibility and chemical inertness. However, a few years ago, concerns have been raised regarding environmental pollution and toxicological bioaccumulation because those substances have been discovered in water sources. They are called forever chemicals for a reason, because they tend to last very long. So therefore, in 2023, a restriction procedure regarding all PFAS substances, including those polymers, has been filed at the ECHA, the European Chemicals Agency. On the right side, you can see some informational banners of that agency, and also a link to inform yourself if you're interested in that topic a little bit more. A solution for that could be ceramics. We see that we get more and more requests from customers who are seeking to replace PFAS parts with ceramic materials, because just like PFAS polymers, ceramics are bioinert and sterilizable. At the same time, ceramics are superior with regards to wear resistance. If you've ever been in a hospital, you see there's a lot of trash generated actually, and there's a trend to reduce that amount. So it's called the no disposables trend. In general, we can say we're differentiating between applications that are in direct contact with patients and those, and on the other hand, those that are not in contact with patients. Also, requests show that for modern instruments, ceramics often play a role in the context of electrical insulation. So therefore, there's a need for ceramics. But then the question is, why does MedTech require additive manufacturing? And one very good reason for that is the increasing significance of minimally invasive surgery. So what we see here is on figure 1 is the rise in proportion that is now taken up by laparoscopic procedures. What does that mean? Here we see data from the US over a time span of 16 years, from 2003 to 2018, for 6 types of procedures. And they actually call a cystectomy. This is the removal of the gallbladder. It's inguinal hernia, the correction of a hernia in the groin. Appendectomy, which is the removal of the appendix. Colectomy, that's the removal of all or part of the colon. It's the Nissen fundoplication, the surgery to treat gastroesophageal reflux disease. And gastrectomy, which is the removal of a part or all of the stomach. If we sum up these 6 procedures, then on average, 270 cases were observed in 2003, and this rose to 368 cases in 2018. So overall, over that time span, there was an increase of 36% of cases which could be observed. But at the same time, the total laparoscopic cases increased from 133 to 280, which is then representing a 111% increase. So we can say laparoscopic procedures increased significantly more than the total. Normalized, this means, and that's what we see here in figure 1, an increase, for example, with regards to inguinal hernia from 20% to 47%, or in the case of colectomy, an increase from 8 to 43%. Actually, an exceptional increase could be observed for appendectomy, which we can see here on the right side. Open appendectomies fell from 62% in 2003 to 7% in 2018, and in parallel, laparoscopic procedures increased from 38 to 93%. So given these facts, I think we can say one reason is the increasing significance of minimally invasive surgery, and therefore, on the technical side, instruments are required to be ever smaller and more delicate. And actually, additive manufacturing is perfectly suitable for these extremely delicate and highly complex parts. At the same time, the quantities for each surgical instrument in many cases are rather low, but then again, the variety is quite huge. So creating a tool for each variation is not economically feasible. Therefore, this tool-less additive manufacturing saves time and money. This is called the low mount, high spread scenario, and it's actually ideal for AM. Now let's dive into the applications. As I mentioned, first one would be the instrument head. This is a high-performance microinvasive surgical component. And this is what it looks like here. You can see it. We're producing 60 parts manufactured in one print job. Actually, so far, we produced 18,000 parts in total. And in 2025 alone, we produced 9,000 parts. There are quite strict tolerance requirements on these parts with only plus minus 30 micrometers. And it has to be pointed out that it's not only the printing itself which is relevant to that tolerance requirement, but also other influences. For example, in those data, 11 slurry batches, 3 powder batches, 5 furnace cycles, 2 different printers, and then also the influence by different workers were influences that were to be considered. The data that came out is shown here. Overall, that's quality data of 47 print jobs, as mentioned, each 60 parts. The target value for the outer diameter, which can be seen on the right side here, was 7.29 millimeters. And actually, all of those values are within specification. The XY feature tends to have a higher variation within each print job due to overpolymerization, but we see very good repeatability of print jobs, especially if we consider all those potential influences. On average, we can say the confidence interval is here 4 micrometers and the standard deviation is 14 micrometers. If we look at another feature of this part, we see the target value was 9.05 millimeters and the tolerance requirement was the same. And the Z feature varies just a few microns within one print job. So there's more variation from one print job to another. Some are actually close to the tolerance limits. The reasons here are obviously there's shrinkage during sintering. There were different vats that were used during the production. And there's variation from one printer to another. So here the confidence interval is 2 micrometers and the standard deviation is 7 micrometers. Let's jump to the next one. This is the gripper, a medical instrument for surgical applications. The requirements here were that it was supposed to be supposed to have an easy installation on surgical equipment, have an inner channel for fluid applications, and it's a part that is in contact with patients. Our suggestion for this part, the material that was supposed to be made of was zirconia, therefore it is also produced in that material type due to its higher bending strength and the fracture toughness compared to alumina. Several advantages compared to metal exist, and those are chemical inertness, electrical insulation, the stiffness, and not to be underestimated, actually the light weight of this part. So this only weighs 0.57 grams. The last one I want to show is the ceramic sleeve. That's an electrical insulator for a laparoscopic tool. And here, this part is used to separate an electrical wire from the housing in a medical device. The goal was to use minimal space while also providing sufficient electrical insulation. So we were calculating that the wall thickness needed to be below 90 micrometers. In an iterative development process with our customer, we achieved electrical insulation with minimal wall thickness. And the benefits of AM were that we could use a quick development process and therefore also reduce the time to market. The tolerance requirements on most of these features are plus minus 50 micrometers. In the end, after successfully completing the development phase, the decision by our customer had to be made. Does he want to produce that in ceramic injection molding or additive manufacturing? With regards to additive manufacturing, we can produce 1,400 parts in one run. The annual demand here is up to 50,000 parts. As I mentioned, AM is competing with ceramic injection molding. And yeah, it was clear that a high level of automation was necessary along the whole process chain to be cost competitive, because in the end, then it's a cost competitiveness challenge. The feasibility was proven with the final production method, and the precision here was key. This tight specification had to be fulfilled with a minimum scrap rate in order to be competitive. After evaluation, we could see additive manufacturing is actually cheaper than ceramic injection molding. And this is the data that was the result of this evaluation. The target value here was 0.47 millimeters, and the tolerance requirement on that inner diameter, which we can see on the right, was then 30 micrometers. So yeah, we can see all parts of this print job are within specifications because the tolerance limits here indicated in red. The variation is within the tolerance limit, and we see only very low variation around the mean value of just a few microns. 5 parts of the 1,400 are outside of the process capability limits. And this is relevant because we see that there was still some work to do to achieve full process capability, and therefore reduced measurement effort. In this case, this would mean that we could just random sample test those parts. However, the values are spreading to bigger size due to instability of the green part. And here additional effects are a closed cavity and of course, the necessary cleaning procedure. Another feature here is the outer diameter. The target value here was 0.62 millimeters, and we see here all values are within specification. 2 of those values of the 1400 on the process capability limit. So we see more variation to bigger size due to slight overpolymerization on the outside diameter, but they are still within limits. So actually this feature could just be tested by random sample testing. If we look back, we see the inner diameter was 0.465 millimeters and the outer one was 0.611 millimeters. So in the end, we actually achieved a wall thickness of only 73 micrometers on the sintered parts. Yeah, now I would like to go to the conclusion. And for you, what are the main takeaways? I would like to show that the first one is quality. Obviously, here we are creating fully dense parts. It has to be mentioned, however, that in additive manufacturing, we see an anisotropy. So the properties can vary in a certain range depending on layer orientation. The next one would be innovation. So to be clear, not everything is feasible in additive manufacturing, but the design freedom is much larger than with traditional production technologies. Very good is the speed. So since we have no tooling, as mentioned, the variations that we see, for example, could be printed at the same time. Overall, therefore, we see fast iterations and a shorter time to market. And last but not least, the scalability. I think we have shown that we're really here in the case of industrial production with regards to process stability, repeatability, and traceability. And then, yeah, of course, automation and process know-how allow for high volume production. With this, I would be at the end, and I would like to thank you for your attention. And here you can see contact details. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Malte and Sebastian. We have come to the end of your presentations. So right now, I just maybe ask you again to pose your questions in the chat room of the Q&A or for German speakers, F&A. Meanwhile, I also wanted to highlight again that in any case, if there are more questions coming up, then we can answer in this session. Of course, you will receive the link to the recording and our experts will answer your questions individually. First of all, I have received a question. Can you give some insights about the sintering process? How important are fixtures during this process? I think this is a very practical question. So maybe, Malte, this one is one for you.
Okay, yeah. Overall, I can say the sintering process is also a very crucial step. I mean, when we talk about the subject of additive manufacturing, the printing itself is also very intensively looked at, but some people tend to underestimate the steps that are necessary before and afterwards. And sintering is very much necessary and important. But actually, I cannot go into detail too much about how that is done because this is kind of our core know-how. Sorry about that.
Maybe I could
Yes,
add on something in here. So what we've experienced, because we as leaders really not focused to produce parts in mass manufacturing. So what we do is working with new partners, with new customers, and see if that is feasible. And what we also see in earlier beginnings of development in the printing process together with a partner, with a customer, that at some point some kind of fixtures are necessary. But in the end, if you go into an aspect where you want to go into mass production, we tried to avoid this. But I also think that this is here some competence which Bosch Advanced Ceramics also has built up in quite some time. So I think if you would have a part which needs a fixture, Bosch Advanced Ceramics would have a perfect solution for that.
Yes. Thank you very much. The next question, when you print dental implants, do you pass ISO 14801 fatigue tests?
Yeah.
Yes, maybe Sebastian, I know that we have had some experience already.
Yeah, so we have experience here and we have the first result we're having now. We can't go into detail, but I can say yes. And the material which is used for this was ATZ and unhipped. So even with the unhipped material, we surpassed the fatigue test.
Okay. I am not receiving any more questions, but I know that we have frequently asked questions by our customers. Just a second. I have to refresh. Yes, there are some questions. Thank you again. So this one is, if you print multiple kind of small parts together, what do you propose not to mix them? For example, dental crowns. So I think maybe more the practical side, Malte, maybe you can go into this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I get that question correctly, but actually I can say, and probably you've seen in the slides that I've shown, we tend not to mix different variations in the series state. Of course, we do that in a development phase. That can be possible. I hope that could answer that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I also can add on something on the dental aspect. I think as I'm having a little bit of an insight of this development process, and here we definitely aim for in the development for a mixed build platform. So we will somehow have a limited indication. So in the beginning with single crown restoration, but then it will be possible to even print the veneer together with the molar. I think this was, if I got the question correctly.
Okay, thank you. The next question was, how do you remove any printing supports? Do they leave marks when they will be removed? I guess this is also something for serial production, right, Malte?
Happily answer that one. So yeah, actually it's true that those supports, they leave marks. We try to very perfectly and optimally design the supports if they are unavoidable. And of course, there are means of working the parts surfaces in the green state or in the sintered state. But actually, we try to avoid using supports in the first place. And in most cases, there's the way to do that. There's a possibility in most cases.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm just refreshing and have a look if there is something new. Otherwise, there is one question that we hear very often. No, there is a new question. Thank you. When you print dental drills, how do you manage the cutting part? Sebastian, maybe this one is for us because we have printed a lot of dental drills, at least.
We printed a lot of dental drills, and as I mentioned, so the DSE now allows us to really fine tune these cutting edges. And the good thing is on 3D printing, you just need to turn on this feature and then start the print shop. So there is definitely some additional alignment on the pixel grid to get the best out of it. But here, our application engineers have quite some experience, and we are pretty happy to discuss this in a detail if you're interested.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I am refreshing again before I get to the next question. Yes, so Sebastian, I know that we have been asked this question a lot. Do we need to design a part by keeping in mind the shrinkage percentage? So how is the shrinkage actually included in the design of a part?
In the end, you don't need to take care of that. So basically what you choose in your slicing software, which we own developed, is basically you put the part inside, choose your material, and the values of the shrinkage are already these values our material development estimated or got out of their development process. There is definitely some fine tuning, as Malte also mentioned in his presentation, as over polymerization can take place, and this is also on the geometrical aspect. So in the end, you need to have a look at each specific geometry, but we have the tools in the software to basically keep the highest possible accuracy on the part.
Thank you. Yes, Malte, how is this? Is this your same experience in serial production, or do we have to add anything?
Our opinion on this would be, if we consider that scenario of a customer coming to us with their project, we would say, just send us the step and the drawing as they are. You don't need to worry about shrinkage or anything. That's what we care about.
Thank you. I have, in the meantime, received a new question. Do you imagine to be able to print wafer handling chucks for semiconductors, actually, I see here. So I guess this is also something that is for both of you. Maybe Sebastian, you can start.
I start as I'm really not into the semiconductor. What I know is that we've already successfully printed wafers for semiconductor. But if it's wafer handling chucks, if they're different in part, I'm too far off the topic. So I think this is a question I will prepare and answer you directly per email.
Yes, probably.
Or anyone else. So maybe Malte, or if you have a better answer.
Yeah, I can comment shortly. I mean, we're also invested in that segment of the market. I don't want to go into many details because this is not the topic of this talk. But yeah, we're in that business, and if you like, please feel free to contact us, and we can talk about it more in detail.
Yes, and I have the idea that we could organize a new webinar, of course, for the other topic. I have received a new question in the meantime. How long does the printing parts take? It should be based on the height of the parts. Maybe Malte can go first. Should I repeat it, or can you read it anyway?
It's about the printing duration, right?
I guess so, yes. So I think it's about how long a print job takes from to, and based probably on the height of the part. So I assume the question is about, does it differ in connection with the height of the parts, or what are the elements that influence the printing time?
Yeah, I mean, that's totally correct. There are several factors which are influencing the time, but probably the most important one is the height of the part. So that assumption was correct, yeah.
Maybe I could to add, and then you also can calculate. I think the layer time we try to keep with every material is around 30 to 36 seconds. And on the height, you can choose between 25 microns up to 100 microns, depending on the detail you want to have in your part. So, and then you can basically calculate how long it would take. So this is just a rough estimation for your calculation so you have an idea about this.
Thank you. I'm just refreshing again, and yes, I think that's about it. I have not found any more questions. I would say that we can now end the webinar. I want to thank you again for your participation. Of course, first of all, to our listeners from around the world, but also many thanks to Bosch Advanced Ceramics and especially to Malte for your time and your dedication, and of course, the power use of LITOS LCM technology. Thanks for that. And thank you as well to Sebastian for your preparation. I think it was a great insight. Yes, so let's keep in touch, I would say. If you have any questions regarding the webinar, or of course, further questions regarding the technology, please get in touch with the two gentlemen. You can see the contact site here. And of course, as I said, you will receive the link at the end of the week. Thank you very much, and have a good day or have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.